We need to Jerry. There you go.
Jerry,
Got it.
got it. David, where are you?
I am in Colombia, South America. And
We're gonna,
glad to be able to call in.
I hear it. Okay.
I can't make it any
Yeah, I
higher.
didn't bring my thing to check with.
That's it.
We'll go on.
Okay, we're gonna convene as a board of canvass. We have 2 untimely ballots which we have to vote, and we have quorum. Yeah, we have quorum.
Shoot.
Just very briefly, we have 2 untimely ballots. One is one came from overseas. It was posted on the election day. And the second one is domestic one, but it was a date stamp on November 14th. So it was untimely sent.
So I need to
Yeah,
move.
I
Move to
move.
reject those ballots.
Second.
Diane said, who seconded?
Diane, Alan
second, who?
first. Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we are leaving the board of canvass.
I think we have to vote.
Yes, all in favor.
Did you get it?
Everyone needs to vote.
Yeah, everybody
For the
need,
rejection of the 2 ballots.
yeah. I need a vote for the rejection of these 2 untimely ballots.
Aye.
Aye.
At least, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Now we
Motion
are
to
in a,
close.
yeah.
Motion to close.
so I
and
need to
open.
move to close the board of canvass.
I move we close the board of canvassers
And go into regular
Yeah,
session.
we go in the regular session.
and go into regular session.
Okay, those in favor, they have to get a vote, the vote. Okay, thank you so much. President report, I don't have anything. I thank you everybody for working, the board and the staff. Addition to, deletion to the agenda. Do you want to add something or delete something? No. Disclosure of campaign contribution. Did anybody contribute anything? No. Thank you. Public comment, Lisa.
Last month, we had an individual who wanted to address the board. I did not see a request to speak today. I'm not sure if that individual is here today. And I apologize, I don't have the name in front of me.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who would like to address the board?
I don't see any name there. Okay. Election director status report.
The director's report is has been shared with the board members last Thursday, and it's posted on our website. I will just give the emphasis of the content and the segments that are presented today. Notice and distribution of materials. All materials were delivered to the board members as per schedule and posted on our website. When it comes to the action items from the last board meeting, there were a few of them. The first one was in regards to the final CTLC report. That report was shared with the board, and it will be posted on our website under March 20th board meeting. The second action item was a request to give an overview of the different working groups that the staff is currently participating in with the colleagues from other local boards and the state. And these working groups are focusing on provisionals and same-day registration forms, election judges' best practices, voter registration, mail-in voting, as well as voting system and electronic poll book. The short summary of each working group, the focus area, who is participating, what they are trying to achieve, is presented in the report. The practice is well established after every election cycle, giving us an opportunity to reflect on any lessons learned in the past elections and introduce changes as we go forward. The next action item was in regards to eligible but not registered postcards that are sent out in a run-up to every election cycle. As I promised, I reached out to the State Board of Elections, and an answer is presented in the director's report. The answer literally says that there are 2 postcards that go out before every election cycle. The one does come from Eric, and the second one is the one that is generated through MVA and mailed out.
Madam President, just a quick question on that one to Boris. So all this is done by the state. It's the county is not involved. Is that correct?
State is participant in the ERIC program. The state shares the data, the state gets the data through ERIC and then distributes to the local board of elections.
And then who
Madam
is
Chair.
responsible for mailing the postcards?
The state does the mailing.
The state does the mailing. Okay.
That's right.
But the state shares the eligible but unregistered list with the county, with you all. Is that right?
Once the list is pulled, the state pulls it in order to generate labels for proper mailing. We
Okay.
don't have access to that list, if that's the question.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other question for, you
Yes.
still have more report?
Yes, yes, I do.
There's more.
Who is it? Alan,
Alan.
go ahead. Yes, sir.
Hi, Boris, I have questions about the working groups. Do you have, best practices that you can share? What the working groups have been, discussing and finding regarding election judges' best practices and other best practices?
That would be a bit longer report. I can look into that. I know the different angles of outreach through social media, through community events. That was one aspect of the discussion. The second was what activities can local boards of elections undertake in non-election year to remain, to increase retention of election judges, to keep them engaged with us. I can look deeper in that.
And how about other best practices that you're discussing? Lessons learned from the 2022 election. This is the voter registration and mail-in voting group. Can you share now or the next meeting details about what they've been discussing?
I would be happier to share these things once the working groups wrap up their work. These conversations are still ongoing, because any lesson learned that we generate through these working groups, at the same time we are working with the state in case it's necessary to make interventions in a displays of the database, so we can reflect it properly and work easier going forward. As I said, one of the aspects is the language in those different forms that are state forms. So we have to wait what the feasibility is, what is possible, what is not.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The last one was
Wait, David's hand is up.
Excuse me?
David's hand is up.
Oh, how do we know it's David?
It says David Naaman at the bottom of his box there.
Yeah, okay, David. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
I turned off my,
Uh-oh.
I think it was making you guys freeze. Just as a follow-up to Alan, if we have ideas about these best practices that are being worked out, Boris, it sounded like you were saying that you only want to report them to us after the work group has finished. Isn't that too late in case we have any ideas that relate to what they come up with? And if we do, how do we communicate those and get them considered?
any idea, any proposal that comes from the board members or the board, I would be more than happy to channel it to the working group to have it presented. So
Okay, but if we have thoughts about what is already being considered, because I think that part of the request on the board's part was to get a sense as to what our own staff is thinking about best practices and to see if we have any views about it. And as I think you know, Alan in particular has been collecting best practices at every polling place in every election. And I guess I'm asking, is our only opportunity to give you our own ideas, but not to know what anyone else's are and react to them?
So working groups are set up by the state. Working groups, members of the working groups are represented from all 24 jurisdictions. So it's ongoing conversation. There are practices that I believe that our staff member who are taking part in it, discussing some items that are already part of the Montgomery County. I have, as I said, I have to go through the proper list and debrief all the working group members on every detail. But if the board would have any proposal, I'm more than happy to send it through.
Well, Boris, it was before you became the director, but on the day that we certified the general election, I'm pretty sure that I asked the staff for their ideas to the board. And that wasn't just for me, that was for all of us. And I think that we're trying every way we can to get a sense as to what you all think are improvements that can be made to the process, not just what do we think, because you guys know it way better than we do. But I personally would like the opportunity to at least express an opinion, even if my opinion is overruled, even if the rest of the board doesn't agree with me, or or even if the staff says that that what we want is not reasonable. I would want the opportunity to engage in the conversation so that we can get a sense as to, I'm sure that after, 2022 it was the roller coaster ride from start to finish. And I'm sure that there are ideas about how to make things better for the future. I personally would like to know what some of those ideas are. I'm not asking to be part of the work group. I'm not asking to micromanage the work group. I'm just trying to get a sense of what some of those ideas are. And I think that's what Alan was trying to say.
Yes, thank you, David. You said it better than me.
Okay.
Well, just
we can produce the list of the proposals that were before the working group. But in essence, on the end, anything that board has to add, I will still push through. So anything that is a reflection of your thinking that might have not been captured in the up-to-date discussion in the working groups could be just added as a new input for the working group to reflect on.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
I think it would be helpful for us to get to hear what some of those ideas are. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Water registration statistics report was shared out on March 1st and reflects the number of registered active and total number of voters. When it comes to the personnel, as previously reported, we are concluding the hiring of the office service coordinator. The start date for the new staff member is projected to be April 10th. The advertisement for the administrative specialist 2 for budget and finance is closed, so we will start reviewing the applications in the upcoming days. And IT technician 3 position has been advertised. That is ongoing. We still have a few temporary team members on board who are helping us with the ongoing activities. The next section relates to
Boris,
Alan has a question.
yes.
thank you. I have 2 questions, Boris. First, who is the person selected for office services coordinator?
That's the name that I cannot share at this moment because the HR has to complete its process in terms of informing successful hire and informing those who were unsuccessful in the process.
Okay. The second question is what's happening to fill your old position?
And I think that I had to answer this question last time, and I apologize for that. So as board already knows, we had a few vacancies on our list, and we are just going through them. And I believe that we are trying to keep all the vacancies in the pipeline, preparing the paperwork and advertising. It's not only on our end, we have to work with the colleagues from HR. So we will tackle all of them I hope, fairly quickly. But now we have 3, and we are preparing 3 more to go out with the next 2 weeks. So that will be 6 vacancies.
Have you posted the position?
No, the water services manager position has not been posted yet. yet.
Okay,
In meanwhile, our colleague Lolita Dorsey, she stepped up. She's acting water services manager for the time being.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not aware of a reason for a hurry on that. If Lolita is already serving in the job on an acting basis, I would think that it's a priority like any other.
Yes.
That's correct. So as I said, we had quite few positions on the vacant list, and we are tackle them as they come. As the board is well familiar with the process, we are quite busy on the IT side now. New poll book solutions is coming in, and the budget was and is always a big deal. So we did focus to hire the finance person. We are focusing to hiring anyone who is related to IT. So we can have these people on board before the new poll book solutions are rolled out.
Okay, anything else? That's it?
That's for the personnel.
Any more question for
There's no-
Boris? Okay, no,
Budget.
that's it?
No budget.
Budget?
Uh, When it comes to budget, there are three different segments. One is up-to-date expenditures, and I would say that line is very similar to what we reported last time, that our expenditures are as expected. The second paragraph reflects on the fact that we did conduct 2 elections in 1 fiscal year. Board has been informed earlier that the court ruling that moved primary election day and the additional court ruling which allow us to start canvass early would have financial impact on the fiscal year 23. That statement or that forecasting is coming to fruition now. Therefore, there is a request for supplemental appropriation in amount of 4.2 million that was submitted by the county executive to the county council. They should cover our expenses until the end of this fiscal year. The last segment, when it comes to budget, Dan,
Diane let him finish. Do you have a question?
you are muted, Dan.
How do we tell him?
You are muted. We cannot hear you.
You're still muted.
Oh my God, so sorry. I was having pinging in the background. I have a question about one section that I can ask when you're done with your, I didn't mean to interrupt the flow of your
Okay,
presentation.
all right. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, and the last section it relates to budget covers the county executive presented budget for fiscal year 24. I'm very glad to report to the board that compared to the fiscal year 23, that the county executive proposed an additional 1.6 million to the Board of Elections, which represents continuous adding to our budget. As if you look if we go back last few years, our total budget, as proposed by the county executive, is an amount of 12.239 million for fiscal year 24, which is increase of 15% compared to fiscal year 23.
Okay, Diane, your hand is up.
Yes, okay, good. So this follows right after the FYI 24 recommended. I'm reading something on my screen so I have no idea if you guys can see me. But Boris, right after that, under voter services, this may sound like a stupid question, but the second paragraph mentions voter services. The program processes all changes to name, address, and party affiliation, and maintains, this is my question, maintains a database of citizens that may not vote for reasons of death, felony, conviction, ineligibility for jury duty, residency outside of the jurisdiction and other valid legal reasons. I just simply had never noticed that provision before. And can you just explain to me the maintaining that as a database? Does that mean what, for how long, or the purpose in general? Can you just give me an explanation, because that seems to be a void in my knowledge bank.
Okay, this paragraph, the way it's written, in essence, it reflects something that we have spoken many times about. It's called list maintenance.
Right,
This is how the voter roll is maintained in terms of accuracy, adding new voters, but also removing those voters who should not be on the list of active voters. Database, as it's said in the state of Maryland, once you canceled, your active status is canceled. However, your presence in the database remains. So anyone who is whose status, voter registration status has been canceled is still in the database, but under the canceled category.
okay.
That's what this is talking about.
Are they moved to a separate sheet, or are the names still merged with active voters?
No, so the system separates names in different categories. The
Okay,
largest category is active voters. Those are people who meet all the criteria to vote on an election. The second category is inactive voters, voters basically for whom we don't know what their current address is. You know, those for whose mailing bounced back. Third category is canceled voters. So if you look at the main screen of the database, in the left corner, you will see designation of the status. Cancel status is very well and prominently designated because it's written in red letters. So there can be no confusion who is canceled, who is active.
great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, finish.
Just legislation. In the director's report, we touched upon few bills that are currently being discussed or presented in Annapolis during the General Assembly. We also provided an attachment with a list of all the election legislation that is subject of this discussion. One of those bills, I believe that board members also observed dynamics in Annapolis and noticed that there is a discussion about moving primary elections possibly to May. That would have its own challenges for the elections, but at this point we still don't know. And the last maybe item for when it comes to legislation is legislation that's being considered to increase the pay for the election judges, to setting up the floor, how much each election judge could be paid, and adding a benefit for the returning election judges in some instances. When it comes to sections activities, I would say that in the director's report, you will notice a list of the municipal elections that are taking place this year. Every year in February, we reach out to all the municipalities in Montgomery County, ask them if they would have elections this year, knowing that they will be reaching to us, asking for the voter registration rolls for their elections. So what you can see in the director's report today is the list of the municipalities that have already replied. If there are any new additions, that they will be presented next time in the report. As I said, we will produce voter registration lists for these municipalities, and in few instances, we will also provide them with the drop boxes that we have here so they can use it for their municipal elections.
David, you have a question?
I
cannot hear you.
There are some issues to moving the primary to May, which I believe each house of the legislature has passed in one form or another, but are to avoid other holidays in two different religions. So I was wondering if you could share what some of those issues might be that that might be caused by moving that. I think it's by about 2 weeks.
So as I said, we didn't really look into every single detail when it comes to the new date. I know that our first reaction would be that May is traditionally testing month for the schools, and that would be something to discuss with the MCPS if there would be any reflection on their calendar. This change that would have an impact.
All right, David?
If it turns out that there are operational issues for us, that's in particular what I'd be interested in. Thank you.
No problem. For us, we have to do, once we know the date, we have to go back to a drawing board to plan everything from the hiring days for the temporary staff and everything else. That will reflect on the money and the math and everything. But once we know the date is set, we will get back to that. And I'll reflect on that date in one of the following sections because it becomes relevant as well. Under products and services, there were a few inquiries about us providing list of permanent list of voters who are registered to receive vote by mail ballots permanently. That we will make that list available. Instructions and everything will be provided on our website. I believe that list is currently around 90,000 voters who are on the permanent list. So I believe there's some interest out there to have that list available, just like we provide the list of all the registered voters in the county. When it comes to other sections, IT section is again continuous post-election maintenance. We will have our staff member taking a seat at the poll book subcommittee to review the implementation of the new poll book solutions. And IT manager continues to work on designing new system that would help us process incoming election judge applications and the relevant assignments. When it comes to operations, you will see that we still continue shredding of the unused ballots and other election materials that we could shred. 2020 election materials ballots are still on hold pending resolution of the court case. I'm very glad to announce that we have reached the initial agreement with the Montgomery College Germantown campus of having the same venue for the canvas purposes for both 2024 election cycle and 2026, both primary and general. What we discussed with the Montgomery College initially were the dates around April 23rd. And that is everything on hold now because election date, again, might move to May. So when we know the final date of the primary in 2024, we will reach out to Montgomery College to see if those dates would be available, if we could adjust initial planning. The initial agreement foresees that we would have access to the same conference room, same venue, for 2 months around the primary, 2 months around the general election, both in 2024 and 2026. Alex.
Okay, yeah, Alex.
I had, Boris, a couple questions about your
I
budget.
think Alan had his hand up for a while.
Oh, yeah, Alan, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, 2 questions. First, relating to Senate Bill 925 on establishing minimum compensation for election judges, and which the bill says that there'll be no less than $250 per day for each judge. Refresh my recollection. What is the present? What do we pay presently to judges for serving?
Yeah, so for the last election, the original was 180, but there were 20 that was added by the county executive decision. So we were paying 200 for VOP, water operation judge.
And the second question, enormous amount of shredding. Do you sell the shredding to somebody to use for packing, or what do you do with it?
Mindy? Chris?
One of the historical aspect of yes, essentially they would make money off of our shredding but we do not pay a service for them to shred the documents.
Mindy, this is Mindy Williams.
Hello.
Can you give that
Hi.
information again? Sorry, I don't think they heard you.
Say it again.
So essentially, the shredding service that we currently use is a free service. They would essentially make money off of whatever they're shredding for us. But we don't, I wouldn't necessarily call it selling it to them.
Okay,
It's like
thank
a
you.
quid pro quo. It's in exchange for service, then. Yeah, makes sense.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes,
Alex is-
Alex,
Boris, I had a couple of questions about the budget items. Because I noticed in the supplemental appropriation, the county executive is saying we needed an extra 945,000 for overtime in FICA. And it looks like our year-to-date actual amount was just over $1 million. So does that mean that we actually spent in total almost double the amount of overtime that we had budgeted for fiscal '23?
I saying that you believe that that our total will be over 2 million on the
Or
the
you
overtime? Is that what you?
right to, if this was approved, would the year-to-date actual amount go from 1.099 million to, 1 million or over 2 million if you add those two figures together, the 945 to the 1.099 million?
No, this reflects the total expenditure that will occur in the fiscal year. This reflects the unbudgeted amounts that were in a proposal for the fiscal '23 that was approved, and the total that we will end on
Yes,
have on them. Alison?
yeah, Alex.
Well, but I think it also reflects the moving of the primary from one fiscal year to the next. I mean, from the previous one to the current one, which I think has a lot to do with overtime.
But does that mean that in effect, we have spent over 2 million on overtime in fiscal '23?
No,
No, our overtime expenditure is presented. It is up to actual year-to-date expenditure. We are talking here about the total forecast, how much we would spend in the whole fiscal year versus how much we actually budgeted for that fiscal year. And the supplemental is presented in a way to cover the difference.
Oh, okay. So the supplemental is supposed to cover the difference between the 217 original budget and the 1.099 actual amount. Is that right?
That's correct. So
Yes.
basically, supplemental is designed to cover the difference in the budget lines that were overspent in the course of the fiscal year.
Now, I was also looking, Boris, if you'll stick with me here for just a minute, the supplemental had an amount for election judge stipends of little over 1 million. Where are election judge stipends paid in the budget document? Where would I find that?
350, I think.
In this, 60530, other professional services.
Okay, that's where election judge stipends would be in our regular budget. Okay. And so that extra 1 million is to cover the difference between the original budgeted of 1.542 and actual of 2.523. Is that right?
That's correct. That's recognizing the fact that primary was moved to this fiscal year, so all the payments of the stipends took place in this fiscal year as well.
Okay, understood. Okay, I think
all right.
that's all I had. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, that's all from me from the director's report.
Ami has her hand up.
Ami,
Yes, no, my question was triggered by something that Alex just said. How much of the budget differential is a result of having to do a recount?
We have to go in and pull the numbers. I think that we looked once and the overall cost of the recount was, I don't want to say it like this and then need to walk it back. If you don't mind, I can prepare this for the next session.
Sure, thank you.
thank you. That's it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Boris. Attorney report.
Hi, good afternoon. So I'm going to be very brief. You should have gotten a copy of Ms. Lamone's response to the board's recommendations. I guess the biggest one that's a cause for concern is that there will not be a change to the ballot marking devices for the 2024 election cycle. I don't know if the board wants to take a position on that with the state board or not. But obviously we did have an issue in the primary with the limited number of candidates that appeared on one page. And that appears to be an ongoing problem that we'll have in 2024 as well. So that's the first issue. The other issue is I've been briefing you on the Gibson versus the World case involving the alleged fraud that occurred in the 2020 election. And over the weekend, the plaintiffs filed a motion that's that big for an emergency motion for preliminary injunction, which is in essence, I think, a Rule 59 motion for reconsideration of the court's order denying, granting the motion to dismiss for lack of standing. I guess the good news is that it appears that the plaintiffs now have dropped all of the counties from the case and are proceeding against the state of Maryland, the Office of the State Prosecutor, Center for Tech and Civic Life, Ms. Lamone, and the State Board of Elections. But it doesn't appear that the local boards have been added, and it looks like the actual counties themselves have been removed.
Did the plaintiffs exceed the page limit by the court?
The plaintiffs have not followed generally any of the local rules so far. So your answer, yes, they did, Alan.
Yeah. Where's their counsel? They don't have local counsel, obviously.
No, they have local counsel.
Okay.
They have local counsel, and it's a group that's that has been following this cause for many, many years. So I don't see anything really coming of it. I think Judge Gallagher, the case is marked administratively closed. And so I suspect at some point Judge Gallagher will just deny whatever pending motions remain. Okay, any questions on the case?
Alex raises his hand.
Ami and Alex have their hands up.
Ami, do you have a question?
Well, my question is sort of, what are we going to do about the issue of the ballot marking device? What's your recommendation?
My recommendation is that the board write to the state board again and express extreme disappointment that this process began in 2016. And we were told in 2018 it was going to be corrected. And 2020 has come and gone, and now we're in 2023. And we're being told that it will not be corrected for 2024.
Okay, then my recommendation to you would be you draft a letter for us and we take a look at it.
Okay, I will do so.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I was rather nonplussed by the
whole letter.
the summary dismissal that we got on that topic. So I second the notion of going back and expressing our dissatisfaction with the response we got.
Okay.
And is it a question of whether there's the state's reluctance to spend the extra money to do this software upgrade? Because I know that the dispute in 2016 was whether under their existing contract, whether they were required to do that or not, I think. So I don't know whether it's a question of money, but I suppose the issue of more candidates than can fit on one screen is most likely to be more acute in the next gubernatorial election than the presidential election, but I can't say it won't be an issue next year. But is it a question of money or what? But you know, because if they don't get started on implementing the solution now, it won't be ready for the gubernatorial year either. So.
Well, and I have to go back and look, Alex, but my recollection was that there were two issues. One was the functionality of going back from one page to another. And then there was the issue of the software that was needed to go ahead and add the additional candidates. And because for what I don't remember the reason why they ultimately decided that it was not worth adding the extra individual, the additional spaces for candidates. But the problem, of course, is, and you saw from the report that Boris provided post-election and that the whole staff provided is that the ballot marking devices are becoming extremely popular. I mean, there was a time in 2018 where we basically had to make sure that we get 2 people to vote on them. Now we have people that are waiting in line to vote using the ballot marking device. So, given its
7-to-1
popularity,
ratios in places.
yeah. So given the popularity now, one would think there would be a piqued interest in improving both functionality and the number of candidates that can appear on a particular page.
Right.
Can I jump in here for a minute? This was a question that was asked of Linda Lamone and Nikki Charlson when they appeared before the Senate committee for a briefing. And they indicated that because of a change in the equipment that is expected for the 26 election, that they weren't sure it was cost effective to fix it for the 24 election. And I don't know what the cost would be. I agree with Ami and Diane and Kevin, everyone who has spoken, that we have a really untenable situation where the voters want to vote on the ballot marking devices, and we know that it has these issues, and we had it in the last election. So I don't know whether we want to take a vote on what Ami and Diane proposed, but I would certainly vote for it. To send another letter explaining what some of our concerns are. And I agree with Alex completely. It's possible that they'll say to us, not worth doing for 2024, although it is possible that we could have more than 7 candidates for convention delegate for the Democratic or Republican National Convention or for school board. But it's really a big issue for 26. And I think that what they've said so far is just that they would consider making a change for 26. And I think we want them to do something more than just consider making a change for 26. I think we want them to commit to making a change for 26 if they're not going to do it for 24.
We do not need a vote. We just ask Kevin to do it. So
Sure.
we don't need a vote.
I think at
Okay,
least.
Well, I think a vote is powerful, even if we don't need one, especially since it appears that we all may agree.
Yeah,
That's
but
fine.
when we write it, we said on behalf of the board. That means the whole board is agree with it. Otherwise, we wouldn't write the letter. I mean,
On behalf of the
you
board
go
only requires 3 votes. It does not require 5. And I still think it is a powerful statement if we're able to say the board voted unanimously to send this letter.
Okay, is there a motion?
I will move.
To do
I
what?
will move that you draft a letter for our review to send to Ms. Amon.
those in favor say aye. Those
Second.
Oh,
Second, who-
Somebody needs to second it.
Diane
I don't have a
seconds.
thing.
I'll second
Who
it.
seconded?
I'll second it.
Diane seconded. Those in favor say
well,
aye.
I-
Raise your hand.
I think that Elise had her hand up, and I don't know if she was trying to
Oh.
join the debate before we vote.
No, that's fine.
No, she's voting.
This is a different question.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yes, let's finish the vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, raise your hand.
Aye.
I,
Oppose?
David,
Okay,
you
Kevin,
voting?
write the letter.
I'm aye.
So I'll,
Elise, you have a question?
Yes, relative to this same topic, I don't remember actually getting a copy of the final version of the letter that went to Linda from us. I remember the drafts going through and her response, but in my email, I don't have the actual final version. And if it's an oversight on my part, I apologize, but it would be great if we could get a
That's
copy
okay.
of that.
It may be an oversight on my part, at least. Let me go ahead and I'll send another an executed copy out to the entire board.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kevin,
I have nothing else.
thank you very much, Kevin. So you're gonna write the letter. All right, or new business. Any new business? No, I don't see any new business. Old business.
Yeah, I have
Yes.
something. Just briefly, I was unable to attend the February meeting because of a funeral, so I was not there to respond to the CTCL, Center for Tech and Civic Life, commonly known as Zuckerbucks, that our county received for the 2020 election. But thank you, Boris and staff, for getting us the document, the response grant report. Could I still have my request is still, if we can get it. I don't know how hard it is to capture documents, but I would think for a grant of that size, we probably still have all the original documents. I would still like to see the CTCL original solicitation that we received to
The website.
to apply for the grant. Because I'm frankly not surprised, but
Request.
not happy to see. I mean, this is quite a bit of data mining that a private third-party entity, which gave money to voting processes all over the country, the data mining that they were able to capture with this document that was given to us, where we then were expected to give a grant report for how the monies were spent, which raises my interest even higher in getting the original solicitation that they sent out and what conditions, stipulations are in that document. Boris, is it possible to go back to the inception of this?
So we will go back. We will look
Please.
back. Yeah, but I might be wrong on this one, but what I remember is that there was an application process on their website that you would just plug in your information, provided the details, answer the question, that would be considered as a start of the process, what you are referring to. So I'm not sure that there was any kind of promotional material, booklets, or reach out that came from them to us to incite us to take part in it. So again, we will go back, we will look. I do apologize if there was something that is that we don't have access to anymore, because it was within the email communication of one of the colleagues who parted ways with the Board of Elections in meanwhile. But again, I'll take a look and see what we have.
Yeah, no apologies necessary. Absolutely. Thank you. I
No problem.
mean, the more I learn about this, the more unhappy I am about CTCL and everything they did. And the fact that this was all handled electronically
Use the money for-
with, they've got the records, we don't. Thank you. What you can do would be greatly appreciated.
No
Okay,
problem.
Boris will do some research. David, your hand is up. You have a
To add to
question?
what- Yeah, to add to what Diane said, I think, it'd be interesting to see how did our budget person, whoever filled this out, how did they hear about the availability of the grant? Would be interesting to know. And I'm surprised that this issue wasn't raised before the board, even though I wasn't on the board at the time, whether we should accept this or not. I don't know that anybody heard about it and that it was accepted until after the fact.
Right. I remember it being presented in a budget a monthly, and I don't fault staff. I want to make sure everybody understands that I'm not criticizing our staff in any way, shape, or form for this.
Was that Kira
Can't think of the right word, but
name?
it's all
Wait a minute.
centered on CTCL, my disdain, I would have to say. Yeah, I don't know where I was going
Okay.
with.
There was, they will do the research and let us know.
Thank you.
Who? David already talked. David, you still have,
No, David did not. For calling on me. I had a couple of questions that don't have to be answered right this minute, but some of what Diane said kind of raised questions in my mind. If I understand correctly, they offered a grant, we applied for it. The board asked for information about how the money was spent. That information was provided. I don't remember all the details of how the money was spent, but it wasn't particularly spent on anything that I found controversial.
Yeah.
And I guess my question for Diane is a couple fold. And again, not all of it has to be answered right now. But one of it is you referred to data mining, and I'm not sure how they're giving us a grant and we spend it on, I think part of it was on judges' stipends. I don't believe that they get any information about our judges by our spending it on judges' stipends. So I'd be curious to know why you think that this would constitute data mining.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer.
And then I'd like to know if there's any concern about how we did spend the money. I agree that I'm concerned about any application for money that we accepted if we don't have a copy of the solicitation and the application. And I'm wondering whether we can get that from the organization if we don't have it ourselves. Because I would think that anytime we apply for grant funding and we receive grant funding, that there should be some kind of document trail. And I haven't heard of governments accepting money without it. So I would definitely be on board for that. But I would say that I would need to know a lot more to share your level of concern over any particular organization that wants to help us to do nonpartisan or bipartisan things. Because what we're talking about is paying judges more and and other things that we would consider to be nonpartisan, election work. I agree. We always want to know where we're getting our money from. We always want to know, kind of what strings are attached, for sure. But I'm not sure that the very fact that it comes from an outside group is automatically a reason for us to be concerned about something nefarious going on.
Okay.
okay, thank you, David.
Did you?
Let Boris do his research. I mean, we're talking every meeting about this subject, so.
But
do some
David asked
comprehensive
a
research.
couple of
He
questions.
will do comprehensive research and report to us at the next board meeting.
Can I hear what Diane has to say?
Diane, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I'm responding to David's questions. And I agree with, we are in great agreement on much of this. You asked about my comment about the data mining. I'm taking a holistic approach to this because on principle, I oppose any third-party personal funders of elections. And although I don't have concerns for Montgomery County because I saw how we spent the money, and I said at initial glance and further, I absolutely have no concerns about how Montgomery County spent the money. However, we know that CTCL seeded over $400 million nationwide through this program. So again,
Isn't everything outside of Montgomery County outside of our jurisdiction?
Right, but I'm explaining, I can't say I categorically oppose using these monies and then saying, oh, but it's okay here. I have a categorical opposition for private third-party funders of elections And the data mining goes to, if you look at the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K categories for which they wanted responses from all the recipients of these funds to see where they spent that money and how much, that would be on a nationwide basis, data mining. So I know. I'm-
Okay, I'm not sure that when a
Either.
funder asks how their money is being spent, if that would be what I would consider data mining there, but I understand what you're saying. You're saying that they are getting information from us about how we spend their money.
A lot. If you look at the list, the laundry list that they wanted responses, to which they wanted responses. I know Naeed wants to move the meeting along, so I'd be happy to talk about this at another time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, I also could have some
Alex.
information that might, help answer Mr. Naaman's questions. I'm happy to talk with him offline about that as well.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Alex. Next item, action item. David, your hand is still up.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I will
so
lower my hand.
Thank you.
What I have recorded here is a more detailed presentation of lessons learned for the board, so the board can provide their input better. Cost of the recount as asked for in terms of the supplemental budget, and original solicitation from CTLC that was submitted on our behalf before we got the funding. I'm sorry if I missed any, but these are the three that I wrote down.
Any question for Boris? Thank you.
Is Kevin's letter on the action items list as well?
Kevin?
Yes.
The letter to the state board?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
okay?
Yep.
Good. Approval of minute of February 23rd, 2023. I'm sure everybody got it. And do I have a motion to accept with the
Yeah.
correction with Alan and David made? Yes, Alex.
Madam President, I would move that the board approve the minutes of the February 27th regular meeting as amended by the edits and comments from Mr. Naaman and
Okay.
circulated.
I'll second that. I second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nothing. Future meeting. April 17, 2023, 2:30. Are we going to do Zoom again? Via Zoom. Information will be on our site. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second. Who
Second.
seconded?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Bye.
Very well.
bye, you guys.
Have a good rest of your week, everyone.
Travels.
Thank you.
Stay safe in Columbia.
Absolutely.